Hi everyone, and welcome back for review topic number 3, which is all about finding x and y values when you have a graph or a table to look at. So, what we're going to be doing is giving you an x value and asking you to find the y value, or giving you a y value and asking you to find the x value. Now, the notation we're going to be using here is a review notation called function notation. So, function notation looks like this. You're going to have the name of the function like f on the outside and a parentheses and then equals a number. In function notation, the x value is always inside of the parentheses and the y value is always outside of the parentheses after the equal sign. So for example, in problem number 1 here, I'm asking you to find f of 5. Because the number 5 is inside of the parentheses, this is an x value. So on the graph, I'm going to go to the place where x is 5. I'm going to look at the point that is either above or below that number, and I'm going to identify the corresponding y value. So if you have the x, tell me the y, which in this case would be the number 2. For problem number 2 here, I can see that inside of the parentheses is a -3, so that's going to be my x value. So on this graph, I'm going to go to where x is -3. I'm going to go either up or down to the corresponding point on the graph, and then I'm going to identify the y value, which in this case would be -6. Let's try one more. So in this graph, I'm asked to find f of -7, which is an x value because it's inside of the parentheses. So I'm going to go to the -7 on the x-axis. I'm going to identify the corresponding point on the graph, and then I'm going to go find the y value. Now the y value here would be +2, and so that would be my answer is +2. So those are some examples of where I might tell you an x value and ask you to find a y. Now in the next example, you'll see that the number is located in a slightly different spot. If I say f of x is equal to 2, this time the 2 is at the end of the problem after the equal sign. So in other words, that's the y value. Then I'm going to say find the x. Now in order to do this, I'm going to go on the graph to where y is 2, which is right here. Now I need to find all the places on the graph where the y value is 2, and it looks like there's 3 places where that happens. It happens here, it happens here, and it happens here. So there are 3 different x's that all have a y value of 2. The first one is -7, the second x is +5, and the third x is +9. So there's this x, there's this x, and there's this x that all have a y value of 2. The way that I like to think about this is it's like Pokemon. You got to catch them all. So if there's more than one answer, you have to list all of the correct answers here. The next question asks you kind of a similar question. So it gives you the y value is -5, and I know that that's a y value because it's after the equal sign. So I'm going to go to where y is -5 on the graph, which is right here. And I'm going to look to the left and I'm going to look to the right and try to find all of the points that have a y value of -5. It looks to me like there are 2 places that have a y value where it's -5. The first x would be -4 and the second x would be -2. So I'm going to list both of those answers as part of my answer here. Next, let's practice looking at graphs and tables at the same time and comparing them. So this problem says we're looking at 2 different savings accounts. There's Namir's savings account and Elian's savings account. Problem number 1 asks me to find n of 4. Now that means I want to know when x is 4, how much money is in Namir's savings account. So I'm going to look at this graph because that is the graph that is describing Namir's saving plan. When x is 4, I'm going to go up or down, and I'm going to find the corresponding y value, which is 30. Now, what this means is that after 4 weeks, and I'm writing that because 4 is the number of weeks, Namir has $30 saved. and I'm using the idea of saved money from the Y value to tell me that the $30 is how much is saved. Next, it says, which is bigger, N of 5 or E of 5? In this case, it would be really helpful to find those numbers first. So to find N of 5, I'm going to look at how much money Namir has after 5 weeks, which is going to be $35. And I'm going to find E of 5, so I'm going to look at Elian's savings plan, and it looks like he has $50. So which one is bigger? E of 5 is bigger, which means Elian has more money after 5 weeks. Last but not least, for which value is N of X equal to E of X? If you ever see a problem like this one, what this is asking you is, when are they the same? They're equal. So it takes a little bit of time and a little bit of patience, but what you want to do is look for which point where it's got the same X and the same Y for both accounts. Now it looks like when Namir has been 1 week, he has $15 and Elian has 10. After 2 weeks, Namir has 20 and Elian has 20. So it looks like that's where they would be the same. After 2 weeks, Namir and Elian both have $20. So I would say when X is 2 weeks, they both have the same amount of money. And so that's how I would interpret this. I would say after 2 weeks, they both have $20. And that's my answer. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. And next, you're going to do some practice with this idea of finding special points on a graph by finding X's and finding Y's.